So, given last night's stream with DM Bloodworth, very happy with it. He was a great host. It was a lovely conversation. I enjoyed it. We were going to talk about second edition, and we did, but we talked about a whole bunch of stuff. Sort of gaming in general. I want to make sure you know what you're walking into, so there is no mystery here. I don't want to trick anyone. I think I'm a decent guy. I live that kind of life. But I'll be real with you. If I get a little mad about something, or, I'm not pleased with something, I can become a monster. Not like a bad guy, but just I can be very aggressive and strict and forward. I'm an old school, strict game master, or dungeon master, right? And this is who I am. I just want people to know who I am. Like if you hear me getting a little heated in the video, I'm not out here to be crazy or a bad guy. But in all honesty, I don't hide my feelings on here. Meaning I'm not ashamed to raise my voice, get mad at somebody, put them in their place verbally. Right? That's who I am. I just don't want you to think I'm something else. Right? I'm a pretty decent guy. That is how it is. I always ask for a fair shake from the audience. Now, for the most part, this is not a problem for me, but some people in the tabletop role-playing game hobby, well, they can see and hear me in very different ways, right? They have painted a unique picture of me, and, well, I guess it's easy to take certain sides of me that I express on here and say, look, doesn't it prove this? Well, I'd like to argue that and say that it doesn't prove that I'm crazy or bad. It just shows that I will openly express myself. I don't put up with crap. Now, people that don't have an issue with me from the outside of the hobby, that look at my content, they can see this clearly. I never have to give this explanation. But some tabletop role-playing game people can be very loose when they're subbing to me or whatnot. I can lose them pretty quickly. Right, because they'll see that and go, oh, isn't that proof of something else, something somebody said about you? I'm like, no, but what people do is they take advantage of my honesty on here, and when they're trying to paint a certain picture, it's easy to align certain sides of me that I express on here with that fake, false picture. I just want you to be aware of it. And I ask you to ignore what other people say and just give me an opportunity. Everyone outside of the hobby that gives me a fair shake, that doesn't come into this, hearing a false picture being painted of me, this is never a problem. So, I don't want it to be a problem for you. And I know with so many people out there in the tabletop role-playing game hobby, maybe being willing to open up and check out what I have to say, I think I just want to put a nail in an old coffin and say that, hey, I think I went through a lot of heat over things that were unfair, lies, and everything. When I talk about this stuff with some of these guys, I have a hard time forgetting about my history here with certain people. It can come up and I can be a bit bitter. You'll hear this. I don't really want it to overtake conversations I have with people. But I really am honestly a bit bitter over things that have happened. And when we get to that stuff, for the guys, on the other side of it, I can understand why it's uncomfortable to talk about. Why we get to that part and the audience, they want to get past it quickly. I get it. It's not like a fun conversation. But the reason I can get caught up talking about some of this stuff is I have been through heat for 6 years. Right? And it lingers with me because I still find myself with issues because of things that were said about me, lies that were pushed for a long time. And I admit, I'm a human being. I have a hard time letting it go. I really do. And I have a hard time trusting what it is I'm walking into. It doesn't mean that I don't trust or the situation would say, like, people like DM Bloodworth and Max Leal I do. I'm comfortable with the relationship I have with them. But the relationship I have with the audience from that world, from the old school, you know, I it's like I want to make sure they know the truth, but I also know that it's hard to get that out there. I also know not saying anything doesn't help, right? As much as it might be uncomfortable for some people to hear this, or for us to ever have that conversation, when I don't explain that to people, there's so many lingering lies and everything out there about me that it's easy to take decent people who mean well and have them see something here that's not here. Do I have a lot of experience with gaming, with tabletop role-playing games? Well, I do. Do I have a lot of knowledge about tabletop role-playing games? Yes, I do. And I think what I've experienced, what I know, is valuable to share. And I would hate the idea that people pass up valuable information and opinions because they've heard things that are not true about me. Right? And I don't want you to think that I'm sitting here thinking I'm going to get some big audience over what I'm doing. I'm not trying to fix everything. I'm just trying to make sure that, hey, even though I'm not perfect, nor am I claiming to be, I want to make sure I have a fair opportunity with you. I've never asked for anything more than a fair shake. And a lot of you out there like guys that have attitudes on here. Well, it's like, okay, I would only ask that if you hear a bit of an attitude coming from me, I'm not really different from the others, right? That's all. And, it is, how can I say, as out there as I can be. It's just in the deepest sense, I'm not a bad person, right? But I understand how it's easy to get me there. It's easy to just ignore everything and go, huh. Some nerds I find are guilty, my fellow nerds, of hearing an opinion that I have that they don't agree with. And instead of confronting the opinion and talking to me in a mature way, they'll just jump on the bandwagon of lies told about me because it's easier to assassinate who I am, to discredit what I say, than it is to actually have a conversation with me about it, especially when I bring up something you don't agree with, but you have no real argument against what I'm saying. Look, the truth is there's a lot of people in our part of the hobby that want things to be true that aren't exactly true. It can make those people very bitter with me when I say things that go against a narrative many people have pushed for years. And they have staked themselves on a belief that really doesn't hold water. And I can come in sometimes and pop that bubble on some people. As I said last night, and I really believe it, it's something, I was talking to Max Leal during our interview on my channel, and he said something about what Kevin said to him, Kevin Sabita, that made Palladium Games. And I heard it when I was younger. It's something ever since then I've mentioned a few times because I really think it makes a deep point that many people have to hear today. Gaming is personal. So even though I'm really not out to get you when I talk about the thing that you believe or you have pushed for years, I'm just trying to deliver the truth. I understand that by telling you this counter thing, it might upset you because some of you out there have held on to beliefs about the history and what we're doing here that in reality really don't hold water. Just being real with you. The greatest example of this recently that I pointed out and made some people mad is the AD&D 1E raw view. That the way we approach the game is raw, start to finish. That is how we play and run AD&D 1E. That is true if you go to tournament play. So it's not like there's not some truth in the statement. But it is not true when you go to the home game. Like 2nd edition Advanced Dungeons & Dragons, The home game has a loose, free feel, where things are a mix of optional or it's a guideline for you to follow. Now in AD&D 1E, it can be a little less clear, but it is there. Now why is it less clear? Why is it just there? In many ways, Gary wanted us to do tournament play. Now you might think that's how he wanted it because that's how he does it. No, he ran his game like the home game where only really 30% is locked in. After that, you pretty much do what you want. He believed in dungeon play being how it was, character creation how it was, and the combat being how it was. Outside of those things, you can pretty much do whatever you want. That's how he ran his own game. He wasn't pushing Raw as something he really believed in that we should do. He was pushing Raw as a business plan. This is what Dungeons and Dragons is. He thought that would be good for the market. This was a business move. That's where they linked into tournament play. They wanted players to know when they bought the book, this is the game you're going to play. This was to give something to customers that were solid and be able to sell the game easier to them to guarantee certain things. Well, in reality, he just didn't practice it. And at the end of the day, what you find him doing, in my opinion, is what you should be doing. And as much as he doesn't make it completely clear in very clear language in the AD&D 1E books, it is there in the language. You dig down, you'll see that it's guidance and guidelines and optional, right, when you get to these things. Now, in second edition, the reason it's so very clear to me is all this optional stuff is spelled out very clearly to be optional. It doesn't take digging into the text to really see the sort of optional side of these things. So second edition got rid of tournament play, but within getting rid of tournament play, it got rid of raw rules as written, start to finish. But it really only took that approach from AD&D 1E. It basically decided that the home game that AD&D 1E pushed is what the game should be, and in reality, it's the way Gary Gygax himself ran the game. If you look at the other people like Frank Metzner and other people that ran D&D, you'll see that they play on this freedom to the extreme. Like, you go see them do things that make no sense to the rules, and they were like this forever. They were mentors of mine. I am like that. Second edition leans more into what Gary was like, Frank was like, and others than, say, AD&D 1E Raw. If you're doing Raw, you're really not following how Gary and others ran Dungeons and Dragons. Some people got mad at me because they have held on to the narrative that AD&D 1E, what we do, is meant to be raw start to finish. Imagine making that case for years. You really do believe it. It's something, it's personal to you. Gaming is personal. And then I come along, out of nowhere, and I pop that bubble. At first, I'm just telling you, it's not that way. You know, those people are not happy with hearing this, but they dismiss me, right? That's how it works. A lot of the stuff I take heat from is doing exactly this, bring out facts that counter long-term narratives, and then people are embarrassed that, oh, hey, this busts what they believe. Either they attack me or they just ignore me, and because to a lot of people, I think it's less about the truth and more about what they want to be true, to be real with you. So, what did I do when people would lie about me or dismiss me? I would bring out more clear evidence to what I was saying being true. I would keep digging in and letting people see the honest truth. But guess what happened? Instead of people bending and accepting I had a point and giving me a fair shake, they just either dismissed me continuously or kept lying about me. Yeah. I got in trouble so many years ago for putting out a video saying, I truly think pure theater of the mind produces a better experience at the table. I made it clear in the video that this was a personal take, and that's why I did it that way. In the video, I make it very clear I'm okay with people that enjoy miniatures, and it doesn't even mean I'm correct. I didn't know how to be more open-minded with my statement than that, and I did it in a short run. It was about a 3-minute video. What I didn't know at the time was just how personal these things are to people, and that many people that like miniatures felt attacked by my video. Deeply attacked. You know, at first I thought they'd just be mad at me. That would be one thing. What I didn't know was there was going to be deep lies and continuous content made about me, absolutely assassinating my character with that audience. See, when I started doing content, came back to the tabletop role-playing game content, with that audience, with the old school audience that we have now, I was growing pretty rapidly. Not trying to brag, they were just enjoying my stuff. I was quite happy to be getting around 50 or so people a week. You know, compared to the growth now, that's not easy, and I was very impressed with my own work. Right, of course I would be. I worked really hard on YouTube. I was working to earn it. Not to have an ego or a blown up pit about it. I just felt like my work was being rewarded. Quite satisfied with that at the time. When I started putting out this type of content where I am hearing things that people ran on for a long time, I knew there was an alternative view, and there was in some cases I felt these people were just wrong and held on to a narrative that didn't hold up when you looked at the actual evidence, and I thought I made a good case for some of this stuff. I just didn't realize that it was going to lead to continuous attacks on me week after week on some of the biggest content creators' YouTube channels, right, that had the most influence on the audience here. I would have continuous streams made about me, or where they talked about me and degraded who I was every week. There was a 16-month period where every single week, for just about 16 months, it was 3 streams every week, 3 to 5 videos every week, attacking who I was and lying about me continuously. You know, for the first so many weeks, I thought it was only fair. I'm a public person that people say what they want, make their videos, make their streams. Never bothered me. People have the right to do that. But after 13 weeks, I wondered when it would stop. After 25 weeks, I'm just wondering, like, what is going on here? I felt like I was turned into content. They were comparing me to a person known as Scott Garibay. It was easy, I guess, to throw me in with him because he was so easily not liked by so many people. Though I'm nothing like Scott Garibay, but this was what you call character assassination. And by continuously saying all this stuff about me, well, it became more believed, and for my fellow nerds who just didn't like what I had to say, it was a lot easier getting on that bandwagon and throwing me under the bus than it was to give me a fair shake. So the audience, a big portion of the audience, took part in things that they knew were lies. I knew they knew it. The lies were obvious. But even the audience, not just the content creators on YouTube, were going along with it. At one point, after the 16 months, there was a bit of a break on what you call continuous attacks on me, where the attacks were still happening, but they were more spread out, not guaranteed every week. Though, I hit a period of time where there was another 6-month run, about a year later, where it was, again, multiple streams every single week for 6 months, and multiple videos every week for 6 months. Now, that did come to an end, and continuous content on me has not been made since then. Though, still, more content, more spread out, has never really stopped until today. It's never really ended. Even though I'm making peace with certain people, I'm still in the midst of having people do character assassination on me. The character assassination back then took me from getting 50 or so people a week subbing to my channel to me losing people. And not because I made different content, so it made a lot of sense to me. If the content drew people beforehand, and I'm doing the same type of content going forward, it's not the content that are driving people away from me. It is the reputation destruction that was happening. And when you get YouTubers, 20 or so of them, and they had the biggest following in the old school, and they had the most influence, and they are the ones deciding to target you the way people targeted me here. Well, that influence was powerful, and that's what tore me down. Now, am I a perfect person? No. So if you make up lies about me, it might be easy to take me out of context and go, here is evidence to that thing. Though in context, I promise you, if you're giving me a fair shake, you'll realize the lies are lies. Why am I making this video? I want to let go of the bitterness. That's it. I want to say how I feel, get it out of my system, and move on. I want to do more streams with people and have fun doing tabletop role-playing game content for you and, us to interact, me to create a bigger community here so we can enjoy all this together. I know I do content that is going to appeal to you, and I hate the idea that we have to be separate because of lies, because of nonsense. I'm still going to say things that sometimes some of you may not like. I'm going to ask you if you could draw back when I do that and attempt, no matter how you feel, to just simply give me a fair shake and talk to me. When you talk to me about stuff that I might disagree with you on, you might be surprised with the deeper dialogue, behind what I say. But I don't give you everything. I want to interact with the audience and have something to share with you in the deeper conversation about that topic. So I don't drop everything in the video, to be honest. Sometimes it would take a bit longer than I have to do a certain video on a certain topic. Either way, I am saying things to trigger a conversation to go deeper into what we're talking about. So yes, there may be a bit of a controversial feeling that you have over what I said. It doesn't take much to talk to me and realize that there is no real controversy at all. When you give me a fair shake and really just sit down and talk to me, you'll realize I'm nothing like what you've heard from people. If you have heard bad things, which is easy to hear about me in this old school community online, because things have been spread about me for years and they're quite well spread. Not much I can do about that. There are some people out there that I have some bitterness with that are going to see these talks and probably want to talk to me. Maybe even regret their decisions and the way they interacted with me in the past. I'll be real with you. For most of them, I'm not looking for peace. So some of you may want to see me go on a stream and talk to somebody you like in the old school. I'll warn you that that might not happen. But for people I have no grief with, I'm more than open to do streams with them and bring them on my channel to stream with me. Maybe do interviews, in some cases, maybe just to talk, right? Not everybody has a deep background in the tabletop role-playing game hobby where asking interview-type questions is really going to help at all. Maybe a conversation would just be better. But it would still be focused more on them than on me, right? Because I can talk a lot. The exception is when I went on DM Bloodworth stream last night, usually I'm a little bit held back and make sure the people I'm interviewing really had their free time to talk. So I'm not hogging mic or talking too much. But I was the guest last night. I was the guy being interviewed. And I decided to bring that energy, to that stream because it's my turn to entertain the audience and help out my new friend, DM Bloodworth, with putting out content to appease his people, but at the same time, it gets to entertain my folks as well. I'm happy with the outcome. I'm happy to have some newcomers to my YouTube channel. I just want to be real about who I am. And before you hear about all this stuff, I figured I'd just talk to you directly about it because no matter what, you're going to hear about it. Either it would be from me or be from other people. I'd rather it be from me. I hope that makes sense to you. That I'd rather be telling you this stuff than having someone who doesn't like me tell you this stuff for very alternative reasons to get you to not support me, not follow me on here. I'm an old school strict DM. It's easy to get people fidgety in our hobby, and it's hard to get solid support. But I want solid support. I want people that can take the good with the bad, because I'm not perfect and I'm not a yes man. There are some content creators on here that say everything you want to hear, and they don't say anything else. They don't say their real feelings because they're scared you're going to unsub and no longer support them if they are honest with you. Look, I want your support, but I refuse to lie to you or deceive you to get that. I want to do it honestly. I want to be able to be myself. I don't want to have to be like other YouTubers that I know behind the scenes are not themselves, and they don't tell you everything that they think. They shouldn't have to feel that way, but given how flaky some audience members can be, they choose to be that way. I won't. So I leave it to you. Are you willing to support someone who you agree with sometimes, who you think makes good content, but isn't always saying what you want to hear? Are you willing to support someone who's willing to be honest, even when you don't like what they have to say on a certain subject? You know, if you can allow me to have opinions that you don't agree with 20% of the time, and you enjoy the other 80% of the stuff I say that you do agree with, if that's good enough to keep you here, I would hope it is, then I'm somebody that would be good for you. Someone to entertain you. In other parts of the hobby, their content creators are able to say 30-40% of what they don't agree with, and their supporters still support them. The nerds in other parts of the hobby simply push their people up and give solid support. It's why many people in other parts of the hobby outcompete the YouTubers in the old school. It is a big reason, because many of our audience members are touchy about the slightest disagreement, and that's why some of our content creators are not honest with you. So, I just don't want to be pigeonholed or have to hold myself back from what I really believe and what I want to say. That's all. And, I'm not going to change if you don't support me. But some of you, your flakiness has led to people deceiving you. It's a two-way street. I think you all need to be a little less flaky in the long run, so our YouTubers don't feel so held down and not able to tell you what they really think. They should have the freedom to say things you don't agree with and you still hold support. I'm not asking you to like videos that you don't agree with. I'm asking you to support what you do agree with, support what entertains you. The rest you can leave alone. You could even thumb down what you don't like. They do in other parts of the hobby, but they remain sub to those YouTubers, and they keep thumbing up the content they like and thumbing down the content they don't without giving flaky support. This is why they outcompete us. In the old school, do we have the numbers in the audience to compete with other parts of the hobby, even with other new school people? We actually do. We actually do have an active audience that can support us more, and we could keep up with others. But every part of the hobby, every YouTuber I've talked to that does tabletop role-playing game content outside of our part of the hobby, they recognize exactly how hard it is to be a YouTuber here. And they understand how sensitive our audience is compared to theirs. I personally would like to see that change. But it doesn't change if we don't speak up. It doesn't change if we don't confront you on this. Obviously, being quiet about it for years has not changed your approach. You have not been influenced by what's going on in other parts of the hobby. So the only way I know I could possibly get you to open your eyes and ears to what's going on and consider making a change with how you approach us in the future, if you're one of these people that could be flaky, it's to directly tell you what the problem is, and I hope you don't get angry. I hope you consider it. That's all. And I hope that influences you to support us. I used to be worried about making videos like this, like, oh, what if you lose people that might support you, Stephen, if you put this out here? Then I realized that, hey, if you would unsub to me because of a video like this, it's guaranteed that you will unsub to me sooner or later over other content that I will do. So why be concerned? What I should do is be willing to test people sometimes to make sure that, hey, if you are going to be supportive, well, if you stay with me after this, I know I'm safe doing other content going forward with you. But if you don't stay with me with a video like this, I understand sooner or later I would lose your support. So I can't count on it. I want to know I can count on support. If flaky support that will just walk away over me pushing something or being aggressive, well, it's not support that I'm going to care about. What I mean is I just know it's not going to be there in the near future. At one point that person will leave. So if you're going to support me, this video wouldn't turn you off to begin with, right? That's it's the easiest way for me to know where you stand. So I see the numbers I have today. I think it's at 993 right now. Very happy with my watch time. I mean, it's like at 488. My views are over 4,000. I'm quite impressed with all the recent numbers. That's where I'm at. So hey, if I keep getting it, good. If I don't, that's up to you. Okay, I love you. You can always check out what my streaming schedule is. It's going to be very strong and continuous through 2026. I'm covering old school gaming and some of the OSR games. I hope you're here for that. And I hope you do enjoy the videos I put out every day. For the ones that you're a little about, I hope you find some of that entertaining, even if it's not your favorite stuff, because I perform for you. Okay. I'll talk to you soon. I'm very busy today. If I can get out more videos, I will, I promise. But I felt like I needed to put this out. I had a lot of thoughts, go through my head last night after the stream, and been thinking about this stuff a bit this morning before I had to go be busy, and I felt like, well, best thing to do is get it off my chest, make a video, and be real with you. Okay, talk to you soon.